Right, so as we were seeing in our analysis just now of the mangrove passages, something is always happening in an English sentence. All right, and when we looked at the second one, the second passage, we saw, give me just 1 minute, we saw here this sentence: mangroves are a critical component of Florida's commercial and recreational fishing industry, right? And what that meant was that because you're using the verb to be, that verb to be usually describes or usually tells you about the nature of something, right? You say the mangrove is a critical component, or mangroves are a critical component. Then that tells you what is the nature of the thing. So verbs of being, I said here, verbs of being, meaning state verbs or state of being verbs, are used in descriptive text, and that is what this part of the text here is descriptive. All right, because it's telling you what it is that the mangrove does. The mangrove provides food. It offers refuge. Yeah, so that's the nature of the being of a mangrove. And a mangrove is a source of food. A mangrove is a source of protection for fish against predators. So that's why you get the use of the verb to be. So it is so in other words, then what it's doing, it's describing the state of being a mangrove, right? It's a source of food, and it's a protection against predators, and therefore that's what you have to do when you're encountering when you encounter descriptive text. You have to be on the lookout for those verbs, the various forms of the verb to be. All right, so let's move on now to, just give me 1 second, move this out. Okay, so what can happen is that you can get passages where we have dynamic verbs such as causal verbs, which show you that someone or something is making something else happen. All right, so in informational text, depending on the informational text you get, pardon me, you can have a lot of causal verbs in use. And I want to look at an example here, which is on, again, we're looking at informational text. I'm looking at a passage on hurricanes. So let's look at the first paragraph. We're going to read the first paragraph, following which we're going to try and figure out what is it that is happening here in the paragraph. So the first one says, a hurricane is one of the most destructive forces. A strong hurricane can flood the lands, blow houses over, and fill the air with flying debris that can slice through skin and bone. It may spawn tornadoes and lightning that do their own brand of damage. And unlike a tornado, which strikes quickly and then departs, a hurricane may rage for days, wreaking havoc indiscriminately on everything in its path. So, remember our job when we read this thing is to figure out, well, what is it that is happening here? We want to create a mental representation. Remember that? That's what the whole pardon me, that's what the whole point of reading is, to get a mental representation of what is happening in the text. So in order to do that, remember again that we have to ask this: who or what is doing what? All right, so that's the first thing we're going to try and figure out in this passage. In the first paragraph, we're going to try and figure out, well, who or what is doing what. We're focusing on the subject and we're looking at verbs. So it starts off by saying a hurricane is one of the most destructive forces. So immediately our subject here is a hurricane. What is the hurricane doing? Who what is doing more? What is the hurricane doing? Well, I have the verb to be. So the hurricane is being a destructive force. It is being a destructive force. That is what it is being. Its name is destruction. Okay, so see that. So that's what is happening in the first sentence. The writer is describing it and telling you that that's basically what's happening in the first sentence, that the hurricane is being destructive. That's its need here. All right. Then it goes on to say a strong hurricane can flood. So now our subject remains a hurricane, but now it kind of bump it up, modify it, and the hurricane is now strong hurricane. So it's the same subject but modified a bit. So a strong hurricane, what does a strong hurricane do? Or what? This hurricane, what is the hurricane doing? Well, it could flood the lands, blow houses over, it could fill the air with flying debris, and can slice through skin and bone. Ew. All right, so remember what it is we want to do. So a hurricane, so let's just say a hurricane. This is my hurricane here, that's the wind. This is my hurricane, right? You can hear it whistling as it goes. And what can it do? Well, this is the land. Let's suppose this is the land here. That's the land there. And it can flood. When the hurricane comes down, it can cause floods. All right, put a different color. You can get flood. It can blow houses over. So this is my house. Here I can have a piece of my roof there. You can get houses that have fallen over. Yeah, I told you I can't draw, right? Don't hold me to a high artistic standard, all right? Yeah, okay, so a piece of the roof gone. There's a roof flying there. Okay. It will fill the air with flying debris. So what kind of debris? Maybe, well, all of this is the wind, so maybe you have things flying. You get debris. This is houses blown down. This is debris, flying debris, and that's it. Yeah. So that's what the hurricane is doing. Then we get it. Now remember, you may have some readers who don't follow anaphora, right? They don't follow the subject. So what I'm doing is I'm showing them how to follow the subject. So they may, when they see it, they may forget what that term is referring to. So you could do some mindless watch. We started off looking at a hurricane, which became a strong hurricane, which is now called using a pronoun it. So the it is the same hurricane. What is the it doing? It is spawning tornadoes and lightning. All right, that do their own brand of damage. It is the hurricane, and the hurricane is doing something. It is spawning tornadoes and lightning. So when I ask who or what is doing what, I get that the hurricane is spawning tornadoes and lightning. And the tornadoes and lightning in turn perform actions. They do their own brand of damage, right? So they do their own brand of damage. Well, we can leave that. Let's just say for the moment we forget that part, just for the time being. We will end up, where's my pen? Okay, so we will end up with the hurricane spawning tornadoes and lightning. So how do you draw lightning now? Some kind of, does lightning look like that? Alright, yeah, you can give me a thumbs up if my lightning looks like lightning. If not, well, I'll have to come to my lightning is getting terrible. Alright, it's supposed to be lightning. Okay, so we get lightning. Yeah, this one is supposed to be lightning. This one looks less like lightning. And tornadoes. Well, a tornado I think looks something like woo. Right, so we get, right, so tornadoes. I think that one actually looks like a tornado, you know. Right. Are you seeing what's happening? Now it says, unlike a tornado, which strikes quickly and then departs. So look at that. Tornado does something that strikes quickly. That's what a tornado does. It strikes quickly. See that? And then it's gone. A hurricane may rage for days. Wow, sounds like some people I know. It could rage for days. I hope you don't know anybody like that. So a hurricane could rage for days, right? That's what it does. See the a hurricane. That's the subject. What's the subject doing? It's raging for days. And as it rages for days, next verb, it wreaks havoc. How? Indiscriminately. It's like it gets into a big rage and mashing up the place, right? So it rages for days and it wreaks havoc. That is all of this. Wreaks havoc. Alrighty. So there's our attempt at visually depicting what is happening in the paragraph. Are you seeing that? Now when you look at this, can you therefore come to the conclusion that when a hurricane strikes, it's absolute mayhem? Look at it. Watch the verbs. Watch the verbs. Alright? You get lightning. This is what happens. Lightning is created. The hurricane creates lightning. It wreaks havoc. It rages for days. You get tornadoes coming down a place, and the tornadoes strike quickly. It blows down houses, sends flying debris, causes floods, right? So do you notice what it is happening here too? In terms of text structure, do you see what is happening? We have a cause and effect text structure. These are the effects. All of these things, watch. This here is the actor. This is the doing thing. What are the effects of its actions? All of these things here. These are the actions. Okay? Alrighty. So we'll continue.